Often, the pictures that I love the most, that I really cherish, apart from the images of my children, aren't portraits of famous people. At the beginning of 2002, I was commissioned by the American magazine Fast Company to provide photographs to accompany an article about the fast food outlet Pret a Manger. We decided to arrive early and avoid the lunchtime rush, and somewhat perversely set up a full studio in the middle of the Mayfair store. The plan was to shoot the workers against a white backdrop. As things started to get busy and the lunchtime crowd, the office workers, started to materialise, I sort of decided to beat a hasty retreat and break down the studio and work in a more simple way. I attached my Sunpack ring flash onto the end of my Hasselblad, and it meant I was more mobile and more flexible. I could respond to the situation. And back then, it's also worth pointing out, I was shooting exclusively on film with medium format cameras. After shooting the company bigwigs, I set about capturing the food. And in a style similar to Martin Parr, he'd used this technique when doing a series on British food. I systematically started recording all these different food products that Pret supply. And in fact, you can see the ring flash reflected in the glass of the counter there. For about 15 minutes, I was hunched over, engrossed in taking my pictures, like a picture-taking machine. Snap, snap, snap. Each time letting the ring flash charge up, and then boof. I was growing a little weary, feeling a bit stiff. The Hasselblad is a heavy camera, especially with the ring flash attached to it. So I decided to sort of have a breather. I sort of stood up straight. I turned around, and suddenly there she was, completely mesmerizing. The reflection in the metal, slightly rippled pillar of the interior design of the Pret a Manger was this kind of extraordinary ghost-like presence. It took my breath away. This is why I love photography. It's moments like this. It was a bit like deer hunting. I had her in my sights. I didn't want to startle her. I didn't want her to run off into the bush. I quietly gave my assistant the Hasselblad with the ring flash and picked up my Pentax 6.7 SLR, and it had a built-in meter, and I sort of carefully made sure that it was correctly exposed and shot off one roll. She had no idea I was taking the picture. I did it discreetly, and afterwards I gave my assistant the Pentax 6.7, I picked up the Hasselblad, and I went back to what I was doing. When I was at the lab and the films were developed, the picture was every bit as good as I thought it might have been. Because remember, back then, it was a latent image. You don't know you've got it until you've got it. And I contacted Fast Company, and I tried in vain to get them to use that picture in the piece. But they were never going to. Why would they use a sort of melancholy, strange picture in an article, a prosaic article about the changing face of fast food? Later that year, I entered this print into the portrait competition at the National Portrait Gallery, and it got in. I've been really lucky. Over the years, I've received many plaudits and accolades. I've had 14 pictures in the National Portrait Gallery Portrait Prize over the years, and 2 of them were shortlisted. I've won 2 World Press photos. But if I'm honest, my success is somewhat tarnished by the fact that often the pictures are of famous people, and celebrity packs a punch. It demands attention. And so that's why it was meaningful that this picture was recognized, because you couldn't get more anonymous than this woman. I love the enigma. Remember, ambiguity and mystery are your photographic friends. Who was this woman? Did she ever see her picture hanging in the august and loved institution that is the National Portrait Gallery? A building that's a short stroll from where I photographed her, quietly drinking her coffee. I imagine her living alone in an elegant but sort of jaded mansion flat in St. James. But I guess we'll never know. In summary, the takeaway from this video is that even in the most humdrum situation, something can just magically present itself. So be alive to that possibility, that serendipitous gift. And if the woman seems familiar to you, maybe she's your mum or your aunt, get in touch and we'll send you a print.